So today I'm so excited to talk with you about building inclusive environments because in the differently abled community, there are three big pieces that I love to talk about as an advocate. One's advocating for healthcare, one's advocating for empowerment so people can feel empowered and rejoin the workforce and realize that they don't have to sit at home and rely on Social Security, not when they have these gifts of adversity that make them so strong. And then the third is building those inclusive environments to make sure that the differently abled community or any community of diversity feels awesome, feels included, feels empowered and supported, right? So that's my feeling. What about you? Tell me more about how you've gotten involved in building inclusion or the inclusive leadership communities.
It's so interesting because I feel like so many organizations just forget, or we talk a lot about diversity and we bucket diversity and inclusion together, but they're really different things. And you can't have inclusion without diversity, but you can have diversity without inclusion. And
Yeah.
it's so important to me when I work with organizations just for people to see the differences between the two and just the importance. And I've always found when working with organizations and being part of organizations, I don't necessarily want to work with people like me. It's great, it's fun to work with people you have a lot of similar interests with, but I love when people challenge you or they're coming from different experiences. I can see you can grow and learn so much more, but we just forget oftentimes that not necessarily people are different, but to put ourselves out there a little bit more and to bring them in as part of the conversation.
So true. Isn't it amazing what happens when you bring all of these different minds together?
Yes.
Crazy innovation, crazy
Crazy.
Creativity. Oh, I love it. So is that what you do for a living? Tell me a little bit more about what you do. Do you speak and hold workshops?
I do, yeah. So I do a lot of keynote speaking with organizations or industrial groups and corporations. And then I do a lot of trainings on inclusive leadership, how to communicate with people, how to identify your strengths, how to create more strategic teams. And at the end of the day, it's just about communication. I do a lot of things with generations, but everybody's different, regardless of what generation you're coming from or what experience. We all have something really cool that we can bring to the table.
Yeah, it still boggles my mind how different our thought processes are with where we come from, not just where we live, like the Midwest versus the West Coast, East Coast, but even generations. It's insane. So I'm happy that you're there as that glue to bring people together and help stick people together as a community. I love it.
Thanks.
So we had a lot of fun building an idea of 10 hacks for inclusive leadership. And I would love to help share some of this with the world and give a little sneak peek as well into what you do with your coaching and teaching and training, as well as the lessons that I have delivered for advocating for the differently abled community in keynotes and workshops. So let's go for it. Are you ready?
Do it.
All right. So I think number one you came up with, which was to call attention to unconscious bias. And we both kind of connected on social media, on LinkedIn over this because unconscious bias is inevitable, right? It's the ultimate enemy of inclusion and diversity. And there was this really awesome Forbes article written by Susan Taylor. She's the CEO of Generon International. But here's her exact quote. It is, think of driving your car down the highway. If you want to shift into the right lane, so you click your turn signal and look in your rear side, view mirrors, right? It's all clear and you start to make your way over to the next lane. A car horn blasts and you swerve back into your lane, right? Realizing that you just missed crashing into the car that was right there. One you didn't see because it was in your car's blind spot. Just like a car we don't see in another lane, unconscious bias is a blind spot that can cause damage because you don't know it's there. Being aware that this is an issue is a first step in acknowledging that this is a bias in order to push through it and understand cultures a little bit differently. So that's my experience with a little bit more of understanding that we all have it. It's always going to be there because we aren't raised in every single culture, every single language, background, religion, right? So it's important to keep your mind open. How about you? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I love that quote so much. It's so funny because we don't think about it and we try to think, oh, we're not making conscious decisions, we're not making decisions about other people based on their appearance or how they think. And it's just there. You're going to gravitate towards people who think and who experience life like you. And I think about it almost, I don't know if your high school was the same, but in my cafeteria, it was you hung out with or sat with people who look like you or in the same classes as you, and you very rarely hop from table to table. It was just comfort zones, and our brain is hardwired to gravitate towards those people. And if you had a bad experience with somebody who looks a certain way or is from a certain area, you unconsciously or subconsciously move away from people like that, whether you think about it or not. Maybe it's men with beards and you had a bad experience or conversation with, right? Like, then you just don't necessarily want to go in that direction. And it really impacts work, it impacts life, just all that stuff.
Yes, so true. It's so funny that you say the lunch table scenario, because I was the person that never sat down at lunch. I was always hopping table to table to table because I never really felt that place, the place where you fit in.
I wish you had been
I love that
to bring people together.
Yeah.
You were nervous, right? It's like, okay, I don't want to be the only one to then go to this table if everyone else is sitting here. Like, you need somebody like you to have the courage to get up and be like, you know what? I want to bring people together. I want to get to know people. And then you can say, you are really cool and you're really cool. I think you would be friends, or I think you just need that person.
And I love that scenario as well, because it teaches the younger generation that it's not impossible, that it is inevitable. It happens everywhere, and that it takes simple changes just to bring people together. Love it. Love it.